Each year, Microsoft Research hosts hundreds of influential speakers from around the world, including leading scientists, renowned experts in technology, book authors, and leading academics, and makes videos of these lectures freely available.
So we were doing mosaicing. So when we have, say, a video of a scene like this, we take the images, we stitch them together, and we get a mosaic. Can you turn off this, the lights on the screen?
That's as high as it goes.
No. Can you turn off these lights? Good. Okay. So we have a video of a scene, scanning a scene. We want to create a mosaic. We create a mosaic, and something is missing. The wind is missing because we have this wind in the original video. We don't see the wind in the resulting video. What we really want to get is this. It's both a mosaic and to see the wind inside. And basically, I'll describe a process that, among others, did get this effect. But what's very interesting to notice is that the problem here is time. It's time because when we see these branches moving, is a few seconds before when we see the top branch moving. So what we show here, we show motions that appear at different times. We show it simultaneously. So kind of we have to play with time. The shadows here, for example, may correspond to some branches here, but they move differently because they're not synchronized in time. So time here, we're playing time. And what we found out that the regular treatment of video, where you treat pictures in one way and the time in another way completely separately, is the wrong way. You must treat time and space simultaneously. So this is basically the kind of the motivation, and the way we approach this has three stages. In the first stage, given a video, we first align the video. We find the motion, the relative motion of the frames, and we create what's called a space-time volume. Now this space-time volume has a non-traditional shape. If the camera is stationary, then this is the space-time volume. The camera is stationary, space-time volume is a regular one. But if the camera is moving, like scanning the scene or translating, then we shift the image based on the camera motion. So we get a space-time volume which is not rectangular. For example, in this space-time volume, every time slice represents a frame. And every frame sees, if this is the world coordinate, this is the world coordinate. Here, every frame sees part of the world coordinate, and this is the time it sees it. So any place inside the region called visibility region, it's so that this place seen at this time. Everything outside, it's a point in time that is not visible. So how, given a video, input video, we want to generate output video. So what I'm describing is a video-to-video process. So we give a video, we construct a space-time volume, and then we specify what is the output video. The output video will be specified by what we call time front. So we take kind of a surface in this space-time volume, and this surface will define for us one frame of the output video. And then we take a progress of called time flow and a sequence of such surfaces in the space-time volume of the original video will define the output video. Notice that the surfaces can vary mostly in time. This is the more important thing here. So we generate the output images from many different time instances of the input images. And then there is a mapping from each time front that we have, there's a mapping to an output image. Now, the normal mapping that we take is we just drop the time. So basically, if this is a collection of points, x, y, t, we just drop the t, and every x, y falls to the x, y. But that doesn't have to be. Like this example showed that we can zoom on kind of some region and compress other regions. So this is a very simple paradigm, and we see what we can do with this paradigm. You may know this famous picture. Actually, it's not a picture, it's a video. It was a nice work done on this video in the photo montage paper. And we want to recreate this video, but in different ways. As a video, not as a single image. For example, if we take space-time slices that take the sides in time ahead of the center, basically we just define these manually. Usually we define this by initial, this is like initial time front and final time front, and specify the number of intermediate frame we want, then all the intermediate time front are generated automatically. And then we play a video, and in this video, the sides go first. Or we can decide that we want the center dome to go first. So we specify time front where the center is taken from the future, the sides are taken from the past, and now we see a new video where the center collapses first. Now, so this is a simple way. All we do is just scan the space-time volume with the surface, because the surface is continuous surface, not discontinuities. We don't need to do much for the output video to look natural and continuous, and very hard to distinguish between the resulting video and the real video. The trick is that the surfaces are smooth surfaces in the space-time volume. So just an example of frame from the original and from these two videos, just to distinguish the difference between what happens. Now, another example of the same scheme is racing. Assume you're a photographer, this is a high school race, and you want to sell this video to the parents of the kids that participate in the race. Now, of course, only one parent will buy you the video. Is the parent of the winner in the race. So you'll sell only one copy and you'll lose. So what happened, assume you go to the mother of this guy, and you want this guy to win the race, so you want his mother to buy the video. So basically, you take the spacer volume and you just shift his time ahead, making him really swimming faster. So see, now he's the winner, swimming very quickly, because his time is moving. And then you go to the mother of this guy, and you shift this guy's time faster. So now he's really a clear winner. So you can manipulate very easily kind of time in videos. This is the case, for example, where we manipulated the time because people are in a fixed location. We manipulate time uniformly for this entire track, but we don't have to. We can basically do this. The volume can have bulges, and the bulges can move, so we can track object and bulge different locations. What we also can do, we can apply, like we call space-time magnification or magnifier. What does a magnifier do? Take a small area and assume that, look at this grid in XY and map this grid in the XY to a regular grid. What will happen? This area will enlarge itself because these are the regular grid, and this area around will shrink. So basically, we magnify one area and we shrink the surrounding area, like looking with a continuous magnifying glass. Now, we can also do this both in the time and the space domain. So if we look at this as time fronts, so we have a time front. So this area will move very quickly, then move slow motion, then move quickly again. And in the space domain, it will be magnified. So basically, if there's some kind of an event that we want to look at, at a certain particular time and space, we can magnify it, so an object will kind of both be magnified and move slower at this event. So this is a video synchronized skating. And then we can put a magnifying glass somewhere, so see the skater kind of at some time both enlarge and slower. And look, the other skater continues normally. So we just do it we can apply the magnification at any time or space as we want. We can also use this to kind of do some patterns. What this image shows, basically we take it at the time front and we just shift the time slightly where we want. For example, we wanted to write a SIGGRAPH on the smoke or on water or whatever. So what we do, we have a time front where we have a little bulges where the SIGGRAPH is. So if we look, assume there is an S here, and we look, say, at the time front here. So in this area, the time goes like this. So where the S is, we take slightly from the future and then return back to the present. So it's the same texture inside and outside and smoothly varying in time. So we can see like writing on dynamic texture. Now we go to all the cases until now. The camera was stationary. Now assume the camera is translating. And with this translating camera, I'll append this kind of what we call a visibility region. So we have an image. This is an image. And during time, in a panoramic image, so we have a scanning image. So the image is moving. It was the image moving, therefore this visibility region is slanted. And if this is a time front, this time front actually means a mosaic image out of all these images, taking kind of parts from the center of each image and mapping it to an output image. So if we take the scenario, we have a rotating camera scanning a scene, and if the camera is rotating from left to right, always at the right parts of the image, we have the part that just enter the field of view, because they enter here, they move along the image and then go out from the left side. So things that are on the right side, the things that just appeared in the visibility region, and thing on the left side, the people that areas that just will disappear from the visibility region. So this is kind of the picture-taking scenario. So what we do, we create a time slice, time front, that is in the right side. Region just enter the image, and we create another mosaic where region just disappear. So from there, so we have two images where in one image all the region are just as they appear when they enter, and one they just appear when they left. And we also create all the images in between. So basically we have a set of images where the time between the images is not the global time, but the relative time to the first entrance in the image. So this is an example of a mosaic. So we have a camera scanning this Iguazu Falls in South America from left to right. And this is a mosaic generated from the right part of the images, just as they enter the visibility region. Now we take this time front and slide it in the positive time axis, and we get now a mosaic that is moving. It's moving because we're changing the time. So every region comes from the first entrance on the right side to its disappearance in the left side, and the objects are moving. So we have now a mosaic that is moving. And this is using the same process we generated the tree that I showed in the beginning. Yes?
On the previous one, if there had been like an airplane flying across the background, would it have been
remind me at the
stationary?
end, okay? No, it depends, of course, on the motion. So things if you move and the camera moves and take different time, you can appear several times, you can get very interesting effects. In this case, of course, we took motion that is most compatible with the mosaic. Now, assume we do the following. We get the same scene, but rather than previously we took a time front, which is the same direction as the motion of the image. So the time front was here and it moved down. Now we see we take a time front that is a different, so we take a time front different angle. Now the time front, in this case, is twice the angle of the visibility region. So we look at what the image is generated. So this is a time front. The time front intersects the visibility region in this area, and this will be the generated image. So now we move the time front in the positive time axis. We moved it down. So what happened when we moved it down? The generated image moves to the left, because now the generated image is here. So it moves to the left. It's an opposite motion that we started. We had a motion initially, the camera moved from left to right. Now we move from right to left. But if we look at every particular object, the individual objects, if you look at this object, it moves in the positive time axis. So the camera moves from right to left. It's the opposite direction. But the object themselves, for each object, the time moves normally in the normal direction. Yes?
So why not just leave the angle the same as the capture and just zoom in and pan on that previous video you showed? Then there'd be less shearing, it seems like.
Maybe. I'll come to this later. So this is the original video, left to right. Actually, what is the intuitive way to reverse the order of the video? Just play the video backwards. Take the last frame and play it first. So we have playing from right to left, but it doesn't work because the water goes up, and this is playing with the water going down. So what will happen if we take the panorama and take a video and move in the panorama? It will also work. But here, we look in the direction, and basically, what we have, we take this visibility region and we analyze different directions. What happens if we do several directions? For example, this is the widest field of view. If we take this direction here, we have backward scanning at different speeds, and here we have slow forward. So basically, we can change the time of fast forward, slow forward, backward, while still, because the scanning is always, the time flow is always going in the positive time direction, individual object will continue to move normally. Yes?
How about playing the whole waterfall, the whole panoramic waterfall at once without the camera motion? Without any camera motion?
Sure.
So if you want to play everything without the camera motion, the only thing you can do is just from between these two regions, because only this area is seen completely. This area in this triangle and in this triangle never seen completely. It's entering the center. So if you limit your area to this part, then you can just have it. It's like I did with the trees. The trees has just the trees and kind of moving all the time at the beginning. Yeah.
So do you assume you know the camera motion, or you estimate it from the images? Because you sort of...
I estimate something. They know nothing.
Okay.
See, the Iguazu stuff we got from the internet. So we don't know. The trees, we capture, everything is captured by hand. So that's interesting thing. Your question is an interesting question, because the two type of motions. If it's rotation, it's easy. We just do an homography, and there's some kind of ways to do it, even in case of motion in the scene, that overcome this. If it's translation, it's more tricky, and I have also a way to handle that. So we are kind of having a new toy, and we kind of play this toy, meaning taking all the images that we have and apply this toy. So this is kind of a conference we had in Saloniki, mosaicing it. We get this wonderful mosaics. And the nicest thing here are the boats. The nice wooden boats were transformed magically to rubber boats, and they go with the waves. So why is this happening? It's happening because every image he was taking for part from different times. Now, with the water, it's okay it's there for different time because it's a dynamic texture, you won't notice. But if something is rigid, and while it's rigid, it's taken for different times, we get this effect. And there was a question, what happens if something moving not in the motion that you expect? So how can we overcome this? So one way to overcome this is just to kind of mark this region, say this region is rigid. What does it mean it's rigid? Don't try to, when you have a time front passing through the volume, just bypass this. So either a time front go to the right or goes to the left, but never touch it, cuts it in the middle. So you never generate a rigid object by stitching it for many different times. If it's a rigid object, take it only from one time.
So you're saying if it's a slanted line, make it horizontal for a while, right? So that it flows down.
Yeah. Okay. Horizontal means take it from one image. So, yeah.
That'll give you a discontinuity unless you do a interpolation between the two different.
Rick just says the answer. It's a diagonal, straight diagonal. It can be continuous, but it limits your field of view because rather than going straight, you go with a stair. But so here, but we didn't implement this yet for each individual object. But if we just manually specify an area, like this area was specified manually as rigid, then things are not distorted. But what you can see is another very interesting effect that's called the Doppler effect. You can see that the waves here, these are, because this thing was not stitched, it was taken for horizontal part. You see the waves here are lower frequency than the waves here. And this is because of the Doppler effect changes the frequency of motion in the direction of the scanning. So in the water, it didn't do anything to the water because we scanned left to right and the water was flowing up to down. But here we have waves that are in the same direction as the camera motion. And therefore, it increases the frequency of the waves. And another example, it's kind of a visit to the Edinburgh Festival. There's kind of the Fringe Festival, a lot of street performers. And you go and you scan. Everything was done with my tiny Canon camera. And when you do this mosaicing, it comes very nice, except that as expected, this guy is moving very quickly. We take him from different times, and he's broken into pieces. So in order to overcome this, we kind of just have to specify that this is rigid, and he is now is not broken. Now in this case, we didn't do tracking. We left the region here, but if he was moving, assuming he was kind of going all over this area, we could have tracked this region of rigidity. It does have to be fixed in the same area. Okay, now actually I'll go to old work that we did, and I think I may have spoken about this here because it's very old. And I show how it all fits to the framework of time fronts and time flow. But now the motion in the scene is different type of motion. If previously we looked at the scene where we have motion, moving object, moving textures, now we'll have motion parallax. So the motion in the scene actually won't be motion in the scene. There will be motion in the image that we call by parallax. So assume that we have a camera that is translating on a line. The red rays depict whatever rays we have. So if we take strips from the right side here, we see the object in this direction, or in this direction. So we have a motion, a camera moving. We take time fronts, either time front that cuts the left side of the image, or the center, or the right side of the image. We get different viewing direction. It means that this actually process, which is the exact same process that was done before, instead of tie it to parallax, so take the leftmost view and rightmost view of the scene, and so we plan this, and we get from this video we get these set of views. So now we get, it may not, so if you look at the video on the top, it may not look like there's too much motion there, but the most motion that there is the parallax. So the parallax, some motion in the waves, but most of the motion in the scene, if we discount for the motion of the camera, is parallax motion. And all this parallax is now captured here in this a set of mosaic. You create multiple views in different direction. You can say multiple stereo views. And again, what we work on stereo camera, rotating camera, we do exact same process. And the meaning here, and this is a place that know this very well. I'm going to skip it quickly. So we get projection that are tangent to a circle. So if we get, let's see. Okay, so we get strips from the right side of the image. So it's a time front that touches the right side of the image. We get rays that are tangent to this circle if our camera is rotating on the circle. Then we move the time front and go to the center. So it basically takes part from the center. So we get rays that all cross the center of rotation. And then we take rays from the other side, from the left side of the images, and we get this kind of ray. So basically we change the projection. And again, we can play the video. We play the time front from in the positive time axis, so we get this video, original video scanning a scene, and the resulting video by playing time front is this one. And actually this is kind of, as I mentioned, this is an older work that fits well into this framework, was licensed to a company. And what you see here is very interesting, that in this type of movies that we generate, the parallax is distilled. It's, look at the parallax between like this bush, this chair, and the house. It's very clear. We see the depth differences very clearly. If we look at the original video, we took the parallax from the original video. Everything is in the original video, but we couldn't really see it in the original video. And the reason we can see it, because everything is moving very fast. So we have, in addition to the parallax, we have all this camera motion and other motion. Here we're only left with the parallax. Only the parallax is left. So we see a distilled parallax, and we can really see the 3D structure of this thing. Yeah.
How is this different from concentric mosaics?
It's not. It's that.
Okay.
It just show that. Just so that kind of even previous work fits into kind of this paradigm. And again, this company, Humanize, that we license the technology to, what they use different views and generate multiple directional views, and they print it on lenticular lens, and you can get basically a 3D picture that you see in your hand, 3D picture. And now another thing that we did that fits nice in this, and again I'm kind of going backward in time, but this is backward in chronological time, because work that we did before fits into this frame as well. So everything I do, we have time space-time volume, we have the time front, and we move the time front in the positive time axis. So we always move the time front positive axis. One of the questions is what happens if we rotate the time front? So we don't move it, we rotate it. So assume we start this first time front, and then we rotate it. So we know what this is. This is an original image. One of the questions is what are the extreme views? So again, this is an old work that we've seen. This is, if you look at this line from the, we have a translating camera. We start a slice that go from the left side of the left image to the right side of the right image, very, very large field of view. And we end with an image that is the right side of the left image and the left side of the right, much smaller field of view, basically gives us zooming in to the scene. So this is a translating camera input, and the output is this. So we generate the space-time volume for this sequence, and we just rotate the slice in the space-time volume, and we see a motion forward. So it's no 3D model of the scene, nothing, just rotating in the space-time volume. And it seems magic, but it's not. It's more cheating than magic, because the images that we get are not perspective images. These are images that we call cross-lit. There is only a change in parallax. You see a lot of parallax, but only in the x direction, not in the y direction. And if we look at this process as a translating camera that is translating on a line, we see what it means to take the first slice. So the first slice starts on the first side of the first image, left side of the first image. Then as we progress in time, we move to the center and to the right of the images. So we did different slices, and the solid line here represent the ray that we take from each image, as if we take all the rays from all the images, and we see that they all meet in a line. So this is a horizontal line. This is where the camera was moving. And this is a kind of vertical line somewhere behind the camera. And the location of this line was determined by software, by the direction of the slice in the space-time volume. As we change the slice, the location of this line is different. And this is actually simulation. This is a physical device that may be used, I don't know, to get the same projection. It's a physical device that rather than have a pinhole, it has two slits, a vertical and a horizontal slit. If these two walls touch together, we have a pinhole camera. But this is more general because we can separate them. And by rotating the slice in the space-time volume, we take this vertical slice and move it in and out. And this is what gives us the feeling of getting inside the scene. It's not moving a perspective camera into the scene, but moving this red wall with a vertical slice in and out of the scene. And this is what we can do with the software. Some kind of equations. OK. So again, what we can do, we have a video that we get. This is in a parking at the university. We drive in the parking lot, take pictures. So by taking slices that are parallel to the direction of motion, parallel to the sides of the space-time volume, we get these different views. So we just change viewing direction. We can, by sliding the views respective to each other, we can decide which point remain fixed. So here we had the infinite remain fixed. We can decide somewhere closer remain fixed. You can notice the distortion because this projection is not perspective. You can see this car was turned to a very nice car here. So, and alternatively, we can move forward. So we took sideways, we can move forward, and can really see we get into the car. We can see the much different viewing direction we see of the car when we move forward. And again, it's not moving forward the perspective camera, just moving the vertical slit in the cross slit camera. So one of the most important questions is, how do we compute the motion of the camera? And especially, it's important when the camera is translating. A rotating camera, it's easy. Everyone can do that. You compute the homography, and that's nice. We have a translating camera, and we have a scene with a lot of depth difference. Every object moves differently depending on its depth. So we must find what's called ego motion. Without going ego motion, we got a result like this. So this is an example of a video. We're kind of driving in a car, looking sideways. We want to mosaic. This is one mosaic that we got, but when we play the mosaic, we get this effect. So we know that we did something wrong, and what was wrong is the more computation of the motion. Because we tried to compute the two-dimensional motion here. There was a real ego motion. Big cars were OK because they occupied a large field of view, so the motion did lock on the car, so the car looked OK. Smaller car were a small part of the image. The motion computation locked on the background, and they got distorted. So even though this picture was taken in Jerusalem, and Jerusalem, you know, is a magic city, but still cars in Jerusalem are rigid. So how do we do this motion computation? As everything, we do work on the space-time volume. And what we see if we have a translating camera, and this is the video, we built it in a space-time volume, and we just take a slice in the space-time volume. And if we assume that the camera is moving in a constant velocity, then all objects will move along straight lines in this slice in the space-time volume. Very close object. This is a close object, something kind of, I think, a pole of a sign very close to the car is almost horizontal, moving very quickly. The car is moving this way, this direction. The wall, which is behind the car, is a different slope because it's further away. So we all know that. So how do we compute the motion? If we look at the regular picture taken, we look at the epipolar slice, and the lines will not be straight. We have lines like that. And if we take slices in this volume, we get images that look distorted. We don't want that. So what actually our process is, take an image. Let's go on the background. Take a space-time volume where the lines are curved, are not straight, and just respace them so that they'll become straight. So change the spacing between the images to straighten the line. So instead of using times that are the frame number, like 1, 2, 3, the number of the frames, we use 1.1, 1.5 to different times. We place the image different times so that the lines are straightened. What does this mean? This actually means a location of the camera. Because if we place the camera in this location, and the camera were indeed in that location, the lines would become straight. So we respace the images so that we get straight line. And there's a very effective way to create it. So we get a set of images. We get the space-time. Now, what I show is one row in the space-time. But we use, of course, the entire space-time volume, not only one row. So we get lines that are curved. We respace them. They become straight. And the difference between the slices is now the motion of the camera. Yeah?
Wait, can you always do that? Or can you only do it for one object at a time?
If the scene is stationary, I can do that.
If the scene is stationary and the camera followed a linear trajectory.
If the scene is stationary and the camera followed the linear trajectory, I can do it.
It's the second half I want to hear, because if you do an orbital trajectory or something like that, then it's not easy to get straight lines out.
No.
Okay.
But it seems that doing this direction, looking outward, it's straight lines. It's effectively straight lines.
Yes, that's right.
But looking inside is different.
Okay.
So, so what the way we do this, we take the space-time volume we constructed so far. We assume that everything until now is straight line. Comes a new frame. All we have to do is just one parameter, and we space it correctly so that the features in the new image just continue the straight line in the previous image. Now we rarely have a camera that moves in only translation. Usually, even if it's moving on a straight line, it rotates, etc. So we can just add a couple of more parameters that don't involve parallax, like this A and B are sliding to the left and right, sliding without parallax. It's assumed like rotating with a very long focal length or rotating around the optical axis. No trouble to add them because they don't rotate parallax, and this is the one that adds parallax. So we can find, we have here 4 parameters of motion that we can align, and we can find the angle motion. Now what's very interesting is we can do this also for XY translation. So in XY translation, the space-time volume is now not 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, because we have XY directions. And when we have this, we don't look on lines on the space line in the 3D space-time volume, but we look on planes in the 4D space-time volume. So what we do, we compute the XY. Given a new frame, we compute the XY so that features in the new frame lie on planes in the 4D space-time volume. So basically, we can easily find both X and Y translations. And it, as I say, it also works when a camera is rotating on an arm. It shouldn't work. If we have a panoramic image, it won't work. But in a limited field of view of a camera, say 45 degrees, 50 degrees, it works very well. There's no way that we can tell the lines in the epipolar volume from straight line if the camera is looking outward, if you rotate it on the line. So these are a couple of examples. So this is the, say, original sequence that had this space-time volume. This kind of lines in the space-time volume, and again we get this distorted. We straighten this by respacing, and now everything works okay. And this concludes the talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
So, have you given any thought to how to extend this for non-static scenes? Most of the scenes
Extend what?
This way of thinking to non-static scenes. Most of the scenes you've shown are roughly static. There is some motion, but it's local motion. But if you have a human or somebody mentioned a plane passing over the scene, or a human walking from one side to the other, what are the sort of the things you can do? I guess you would have to do some sort of a tracking or layer extraction.
Yes. When we have a motion that is motion in the direction of the motion of the camera, then we do need tracking. And we are starting to work on tracking of the object. So we are tracking the object, and we must treat each object differently. Okay. So it's too clear if there's no question.
Do you see a commercial product out of this eventually, like video work used to be?
I never saw a commercial product for anything I did. It's for others to say, but it's fun. It's fun doing this. You know, we are taking movies, we're playing with the time front and changing them. And I don't know if we are having fun because, you know, we do that, so we have fun with our toy, or other people will have fun playing with this as well. But something I didn't mention here, it's nice, it's splicing of video. For example, like we're trying to take 2 video sequences. There's work there is a paper called graph cut texture or something. I think take dynamic texture and splice it again. And they, in this thing, what they do is you take let's go here, you take two videos, assume, so this is the time of one video, and this is the time of another video, and you want to splice them together. So what they find with the graph cut algorithm, they found kind of a time front here and a time front here that, okay, let's take this from the first one and take this from the second one, and they have a graph cut algorithm to find what is the shape of this time front. Now, sometimes this will fail because it assumes that you need to have a time front that thing in this side will match the right side. What we say, we don't really need that because we can assume that this time front here actually matches this time front there. So basically, we cannot do that. In our case, no trouble. So we take this time front and we match it, we change it to this. We take this time front here, match it to this, and now we can splice this with this easily. So we can assume, like in the swimming, So we want to swimmers start with breast, and then they continue with something else. Okay, so we want to splice it, but they're in different locations. We won't be able to take the two videos ever and splice them because people will always be in different locations. In our case, we can decide what are the locations we want the people to be. We can bring, by time warping, the people in the one movie to be in this location. We can bring the people from the other movie to be in the same location. Everything by time warping, and then we can splice easily. So it's a very nice way to to splice. So it helps. This time warping helps you tremendously. Anything you want to do in video becomes easier if you allow yourself to play with time. If it's commercial, I have no idea.
So, like when you did that bump effect, right? Was there some sort of interactive tool that lets you place the bump and everything?
Sure. And actually, talking about playing, so we take all these spot video. So we take a spot video and we try to see which events do we think needs kind of enhancement. So this kind of is jumping to the best case, also slow down and enlarge it. And you can the two things here, we move it in space and time, the location, and then we change the variance of how big this is. In the space-time volume, we have created a set of GUIs, of user interfaces, to allow people to specify the time for time changes. And
well, that should have commercial applications. Well, that should have commercial applications.
One.
This one should have commercial applications.
Yeah, they're always looking for eye candy, something new. I mean, you should definitely take this to one of the networks. Show it to ESPN, and license it to them.
You have contacts? I don't know.
I don't, but.
Oh, yeah, I think Richard has contacts with, that was in Sharp, actually. Sharp did something with ESPN. But some people in Windows Media have contacts with various specialized. MSN also has contacts with ESPN. They also need eye candies for MSN video. So these type of things would be.
Yeah, we can talk to people. If you want to leave us one of these video clips, we can kind of show it to people in the company, see who might be interested or know of someone for you to talk to.
Yeah, so this is just one of zillion effects that one could do with this stuff. It's endless. It's funny. We are really sorry that SIGGRAPH deadline is only... What you saw here is about last 3 weeks' work or something, but this stuff. So last month maybe. So every day we have a new thing. So if SIGGRAPH would be a couple of more months and we have more things to do, but yeah.
But presuming you're using a modern video camera that takes essentially 30 or 60 or 50 frames a second, what would happen if you used some of the older cameras like the Orithicon and Flemicon cameras that actually had the video scan rates at different points in time? You could get a much finer gradation.
I didn't think about that. So actually, we didn't use any camera. None of the videos here were taken by us. We just
You captured them
took
by somebody
footage
else's
and
camera.
we bought footage. But
The alignments that you need for the space-time volume, how...
see, this no alignment is necessary.
This one you don't need, yeah.
Here we have we have the space-time, so we're just taking a particular place in time, because we don't do alignment because we do it only in one space in time. We don't do it along, unlike the swimmers or the other that we need to be consistent. See, we don't need to be consistent.
To make it easy to use for the user will want to click on a basket and not then have to refine.
Click on the basket and click on at the
what-
time. No, but you need to click at a particular time, because like this magnifying glass, it's temporal. It's not always, because it slows down and then accelerates. So you cannot have it all the time. So you take a particular moment that you want to happen. You click on the point in time. So basically, click on the point in the space of volume. It's both an x, y point and a time point, and it goes around this point.
Right, but what I'm saying is it would look even more impressive if there is at least a little bit of tracking of either the basket or the player, so that it's kind of automatic. This bump is made automatically to align with this.
So instead of a sphere, right?
Yeah, instead of a sphere.
Yeah.
You're right. Again, tracking is something that there is a student now working on the tracking. Okay, but we don't integrate this stuff here because it's still preliminary. The examples don't come out right, but tracking will be there.
Anyone else?
Oh, I just have one question. How do you do the resampling? Because you have, t equals to 1.5.
The stupid way. Well, I tell you that's kind of two things. One thing I showed the old stuff. In the old stuff, how do we do resampling? When we do motion, okay. So we have this. We have the images, and we computed the motion. And when we computed the motion, we have the kind of the lines and the directions of. Okay. So assume we want to generate this image. This point, somewhat in the middle. So we look here in the neighborhood, we look here in the neighborhood, and we see what are the directions of the lines in an epipolar volume. And basically, we figure out that to get this, we should average this point with this point. Okay? So this is what we did in everything that including the mosaic. Because we had this mosaicing software from a long time ago, and everything in. In the time front, which we just did recently, we just did the stupid. So we have this, we just average. But of course, this is the wrong way to do it. So right now, we just average kind of the. But eventually, you want to find the local motion and to do like all interpolation you do. You want to interpolate between the previous and the next frame using the motion that occurs in this region.
You could use vectors and
Okay, well, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.